NFPA, the National Fire Protection Association, NEC, the National Electrical Code, and OSHA, the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, govern the requirements for who can perform electrical work in commercial buildings. According to these codes, only licensed electricians are allowed to perform electrical work that requires special training or knowledge to perform safely, that involves working with energized electrical systems, or that requires the use of specialized tools or equipment. Based on this, hourly employed maintenance workers in a commercial building would not be allowed to change out a 110 volts ballast. This is because changing out a ballast requires specialized knowledge and the use of specialized tools such as a ballast removal tool. The authority that governs this is NFPA, NEC Article 110.3, which states that only qualified persons shall be permitted to perform electrical work, and OSHA 29 CFR 1910.332, which requires employers to ensure that qualified persons perform electrical work. To elaborate, the National Fire Protection Association, or NFPA, plays a crucial role in setting the standards for electrical safety through the National Electrical Code, or NEC. The NEC is a comprehensive document that outlines the requirements for safe electrical installations. It covers everything from wiring methods and overcurrent protection to grounding and equipment installation. Article 110.3 of the NEC specifically addresses the issue of qualified persons performing electrical work. It mandates that only individuals with the necessary skills, knowledge, and experience should be allowed to work on electrical systems. This requirement is in place to prevent electrical hazards and ensure the safety of workers and the public. OSHA, the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, is a federal agency responsible for ensuring safe and healthful working conditions for employees. OSHA has regulations that address electrical safety in the workplace. These regulations are designed to protect employees from electrical hazards such as electric shock, electrocution, and arc flash. One of the key OSHA regulations related to electrical work is 29 CFR 1910.332, which requires employers to ensure that qualified persons perform electrical work. This regulation reinforces the NEC requirement for qualified individuals and emphasizes the employer's responsibility for providing a safe working environment. The term qualified person is central to both the NEC and OSHA regulations. A qualified person is someone who has the skills, knowledge, and experience necessary to safely perform electrical work. This typically includes electricians who have completed an apprenticeship program and obtained a license or certification. However, the specific qualifications may vary depending on the type of electrical work being performed. For example, some tasks may require additional training or certification. When it comes to changing out a ballast, several factors contribute to the need for a qualified person. Firstly, working with electrical systems always carries the risk of electric shock. Ballasts operate at high voltages, and contact with live wires can be fatal. A qualified person is trained to recognize and avoid these hazards. Secondly, changing a ballast often involves working with energized circuits. This means that the power to the circuit must be turned off before any work can be performed. However, in some cases, it may be necessary to work on energized circuits. A qualified person is trained to use the proper personal protective equipment, or PPE, and follow safe work practices when working on energized circuits. Thirdly, changing a ballast requires the use of specialized tools and equipment. These tools may include voltage testers, wire strippers, and ballast removal tools. A qualified person is trained to use these tools safely and effectively. In addition to the safety concerns, changing a ballast also requires technical knowledge. A qualified person must be able to identify the correct type of ballast for the fixture, properly connect the wires, and ensure that the ballast is properly grounded. Improperly installed ballast can cause flickering lights, premature lamp failure, and even fire hazards. Considering these factors, it is clear that changing a ballast is not a task that should be performed by unqualified individuals. Hourly employed maintenance workers in a commercial building typically do not have the necessary training, experience, or equipment to safely and effectively change out a ballast. Allowing unqualified individuals to perform electrical work can have serious consequences. It can lead to electric shock, electrocution, fires, and other hazards. It can also result in property damage and liability for the employer. Therefore, it is essential to follow the requirements of the NFPA, NEC, and OSHA and ensure that only qualified persons perform electrical work. In practice, this means hiring licensed electricians to perform tasks such as changing out ballasts. Licensed electricians have the training, experience, and equipment necessary to perform the work safely and effectively. They are also familiar with the applicable codes and regulations. By hiring licensed electricians, building owners and managers can ensure that their electrical systems are safe and reliable. They can also avoid the potential legal and financial consequences of allowing unqualified individuals to perform electrical work. To further clarify the requirements set forth by NFPA, NEC Article 110.3 and OSHA 29 CFR 1910.332 are not merely suggestions but are legally binding regulations. These regulations are in place to protect the safety of individuals and property. Failure to comply with these regulations can result in fines, penalties, and even criminal charges. Therefore, it is crucial for building owners, managers, and employers to understand and comply with these regulations. This includes ensuring that all electrical work is performed by qualified persons and that employees are properly trained and equipped to perform their jobs safely. The specific requirements for qualified persons may vary depending on the type of electrical work being performed. However, in general, a qualified person should have the following qualifications: 1. A thorough understanding of electrical safety principles and practices. 2. The ability to recognize and avoid electrical hazards. 3. The ability to use personal protective equipment, or PPE, properly. 4. The ability to use specialized tools and equipment safely and effectively. 5. The ability to read and interpret electrical drawings and diagrams. 6. A knowledge of applicable codes and regulations. In addition to these qualifications, a qualified person should also have the necessary experience to perform the electrical work safely and effectively. This experience may be gained through an apprenticeship program, on-the-job training, or other formal education. The process of becoming a licensed electrician typically involves completing an apprenticeship program, passing an examination, and meeting other requirements set by the state or local licensing board. Apprenticeship programs provide hands-on training under the supervision of experienced electricians. They also include classroom instruction in electrical theory, code requirements, and safety practices. Once an apprentice has completed the program, they are eligible to take the licensing examination. The examination tests their knowledge of electrical theory, code requirements, and safety practices. If they pass the examination, they are granted a license to practice as an electrician. Licensed electricians are required to maintain their licenses by completing continuing education courses. These courses keep them up to date on the latest code requirements, safety practices, and technological advancements. In summary, NFPA, NEC Article 110.3, and OSHA 29 CFR 1910.332 all emphasize the importance of using qualified persons to perform electrical work. This is essential for ensuring the safety of individuals and property. Building owners, managers, and employees should understand and comply with these regulations to avoid potential legal and financial consequences. Highly employed maintenance workers in a commercial building typically do not meet the qualifications of a qualified person and should not be allowed to perform electrical work such as changing out ballasts. This work should be performed by licensed electricians who have the necessary training, experience, and equipment to do the job safely and effectively. Furthermore, it is important to note that the specific requirements for electrical work can vary depending on the location and the type of building. Local codes and regulations may impose additional requirements beyond those specified in the NEC and OSHA standards. Therefore, it is always advisable to consult with a qualified electrician or electrical engineer to ensure that all electrical work is performed in compliance with applicable codes and regulations. In addition to the legal and safety considerations, using qualified persons for electrical work can also have economic benefits. Properly installed electrical systems are more reliable and efficient, which can reduce energy costs and prevent costly repairs. Qualified electricians can also identify potential problems before they become major issues, saving building owners and managers money in the long run. In conclusion, the decision of who is allowed to change out a 110 volts ballast in a commercial building is not a simple one. It is governed by NFPA, NEC, Porsche, and local codes and regulations. The overriding principle is that only qualified persons should be permitted to perform electrical work. Hourly employed maintenance workers typically do not meet the qualifications of a qualified person and should not be allowed to perform electrical work such as changing out ballasts. This work should be performed by licensed electricians who have the necessary training, experience, and equipment to do the job safely, effectively, and in compliance with all applicable codes and regulations. Understanding the roles of organizations such as the National Fire Protection Association and Occupational Safety and Health Administration is important. You must also understand the National Electrical Code to ensure full compliance on an electrical project. If someone is not properly trained, that person should not perform the work to avoid injury and to ensure compliance. By following these guidelines, building owners, managers, and employers can protect the safety of their workers, tenants, and the public, while also ensuring the reliability and efficiency of their electrical systems.